You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. Elliot Dunham says, is losing Derek Williams a massive deal if we still have King Doherty, Ryan Yates coming in with the addition of Kylan Jackson, hopefully?
Well, again, it's not signing day yet. Derek Williams, the kid out of Westgate we talked about, I don't have the rankings pulled up, but I think he's the number 2 safety in the country. Losing the number 2 safety in the country from 30 minutes away from your school's campus is a big deal. No way to slice it. So is it good that they've already got a couple of safeties committed who are talented and highly ranked and have a bunch of offers? Yes. Would it be good to close with more, like another local guy in Kylan Jackson at Zachary? Of course. And if you've written up there, we need 3 safeties and you've gotten those guys, you feel good about it, but certainly you don't love that Derek Williams isn't sitting on that list. So I would say that LSU's not going to be done recruiting Derek Williams with this long to go to signing day, but Texas is hot right now in terms of the Arch Manning, and I don't know what Newman, Will Randall, another kid on that team, I don't know what he's up to right now, but he had Texas in that group, and now we see Derek Williams. So maybe they try to tap into 3 or 4 Louisiana kids this cycle, but I ultimately think we're too far from signing day to write a consensus top 3 player in Louisiana off. I mean, they're going to keep recruiting them.
Okay. This one also says, if LSU lands Lance Hurd, Chase Besant, forgive me if I'm missing some of these names, Besantis, Tyree Adams, Jackson Howard, Darren Reed, Joshua Mickens, Deshaun Womack, is that one of the better trench hauls LSU's ever seen?
I wouldn't say ever. They've recruited a lot of D-line classes here that are really good, but this next week or 2 could be very big for them. They would go from no D-line commitments to potentially 3 and kind of then beginning to add more guys who are all top 150, top 100 type players. And I think that's kind of Jamar Cain after a busy spring, really, of hosting guys, official visits. Finally, it's kind of lining up. Okay, let's try to drop these dominoes now. We'll focus on these other guys come fall, whether we bring them in for games or whatever it might be. But Cain, I think, is the D-line coach, is one of the more interesting ones. And I think we'll see it pay off because out of all the people on staff, excluding, I'd say, I guess, Brian Kelly and Polian's kind of they were at Notre Dame and now here. The point I'm making is, like Joe Sloan, he's recruiting quarterbacks that he was not recruiting at La Tech. Mike Denbrock is recruiting guys that he was not recruiting at Cincinnati. And I could, go down that list. Steeples was in the NFL. Kerry Cooks had been bouncing around. Jamar Cain was Oklahoma's D-line coach. And they recruit all good players too. So I remember when we talked to Cain, they had a media session not long after he got hired, and we were talking about recruiting, and he can't name guys by name, but he can talk about just strategy or whatever. And he said, hey, look, by the summer last year, I had my whole Oklahoma class signed, not signed, but committed. We knew they were in and we were good to go. So I started working on these guys. Well, yeah, I changed jobs and come to LSU, but LSU had already offered them. I'd come right back. Hey, you know me. I was recruiting you to OU. Now I'm recruiting you to LSU. It ain't that big of a difference. It's 2 big schools that, were recently in playoffs. So I think that was kind of a big benefit there. Like your D-line coach was already recruiting all these guys. So I think that'll start to pay off. And my guess would be that when the dust settles from this class, the D-line could probably be the best one. If not, it'll be one of the best position groups of everybody.
Let's see. Ask Shea, does the UCLA USC news skew Dante Moore away from Oregon? That's Thomas Gallo.
No, and I think Dante Moore's from Michigan anyway, so he was, already willing to leave home, go back out there and play West Coast ball. And I think if you're like, are we supposed to think of that in a way of they would be joining a different conference and then the competition's different?
I think he's saying if Oregon stays in the Pac-12 with no USC, UCLA, right, do they drop out of Power 5 status? What if Oregon is part of the group that tries to jump into the Big Ten, which has already been sort of reported that they've certainly made that call?
I don't know. It could be interesting then, but I think, and he's not committed yet. I don't think, at least publicly, no. But I would think Oregon would have an answer for that in terms of recruiting, and I'm not sure how far ahead kids will look. I mean, look, if these schools are moving, this is 24, 25, this is kind of junior years of college for some of these kids, so I don't know how much of a factor it would be, and there's no way to know, but consider that news came out, today?
Yeah, right.
And nothing's official, right? I mean, it's reports. Did the conferences announce it? Or?
They're, according to Dellinger and others, it's within 24 hours.
Dellinger's basically the commissioner of all these conferences, and if he says it, then we're believing it.
He's probably there. Andy Ortiz said, please ask Shea about Toviano, see if there's a chance there. Is that Javian Toviano?
No, I think they didn't really make his list of trimmed down teams whenever he did it.
So he's a safety. Give us the background. I'm looking at his
another safety out of Texas. A kid, he had come by and made some visits, during the spring. I think like March they had him on campus, but he had put out a top group. I think it was more of...
There's his profile right there. A&M,
Texas, Michigan, Oklahoma, So I don't think LSU will be in the mix area. But look, I think Kylan Jackson at Zachary is probably a guy to start paying a lot of attention to, especially if Derek Williams is verbally on board elsewhere. Kylan's at other safety in Louisiana that's pretty highly ranked.
This is another NIL one again. Shea Dixon's in studio with us answering your questions. Do you think there's booster fatigue among donors because of NIL, getting new coaches over the last 3 years?
I think there's probably a lot of booster confusion, as everyone tries to understand where this is going and who's setting market value for these kids. Where are we in a collective? Are we doing this? I'm getting a kid. I'm the owner of a car dealership, and he's gonna, drive around in my cars. But we've seen everything.
It's so stupid.
I think.
I mean, but I don't begrudge anybody getting anything, right? It's just so stupid, like all that part of it.
Well, imagine if we're getting fatigued just talking about it. Boosters are getting fatigued dealing with it, and certainly, there's a wide range of what a booster is. These high-level guys are in serious talks with whomever it might be. Is it the school's ADs or whatever kind of compliance rules you got to go around, but figuring out collectives and who's in it and how much are we putting it out and how's it getting dispersed, and all of that can grow tiresome. I'm still in the camp of anything in the world is cyclical. Everyone's back to wearing the clothes you wore 20 years ago or whatever was in style. I think the fad of NIL is going to come around quickly to where we're not doing this every year. We're sitting around wondering well, man, that kid got $9 million. That kid got $11 million. That's the rumors we've got attorneys coming out and saying I represent the kid. Here's what it is. It's $10 million. There's no return on an investment there. Right. I mean, I can remember it wasn't long ago. We're getting older when Cam and $250K. And everyone was they paid him $250,000, and then he won a Natty and Heisman. And they're that's a good investment. Good investment. $9 million to a high school kid that's never played. He hasn't even played a senior year of football yet.
I know.
And that's what we're tossing around here. That's not going to happen forever. And whether that means rules put in place from the conferences or the NCAA, which I don't know how much power the NCAA even has anymore over any of this, or head coaches is Brian Kelly going to say, a kid comes in his office, I want $10 million? No.
Yeah. Market's always
there. That puts it into it. Our boosters don't even have to worry about it. You're not getting $9 or $10 million. I'm wondering how quarterback Jaden Rashada, has been talked about, I guess, a lot over the past week because Florida reportedly offered him. He went to Miami, and they were talking figures of $9, $10, $11 million. When he walks in the quarterback room and he's got Walker Howard and Nussmeier and Jaden Daniels and Brennan sitting there saying, we don't have $9 million. I don't know if walk-ons is paying Miles Brennan $9 million, but
I don't think so.
What does that do for the rest of your locker room? I mean, I've talked to multiple coaches, not just at LSU, who are saying it explodes it. Those kids are going to turn on him. I don't think it's this current climate. No one, I don't think, would say, man, this current climate makes total sense. This is what NIL is all about. When we said kids should get a taste of their name, image, likeness, $10 million for a quarterback is exactly what I was talking about. Joe Burrow got $32 million, and he had played 5 years of college and went number one in the draft. So, no, I think it all comes back around. But we are very much living in this wild, wild west for, I think, the next couple of years until we see regulation. And in that time, booster fatigue will probably be at an all-time high.
Yeah. Let's get this one in from Joe Laverne, who said, Shea, what do you think of Caleb Jackson, the running back from Liberty Magnet High?
Yeah, I think he was just coming off a Bama visit or maybe about to go to one. I think it was just coming off it. But LSU's turned up the heat on him. I mean, they've got Trey Holly committed out of Union Parish, a Louisiana kid, and Jackson is the other Louisiana running back. And nationally, it's not a huge running. Like, there's not like 20 running backs ranked in the top 100 or anything. So to have two kind of top 10 to 12 guys, both here in Louisiana, one of them, Caleb, being in Baton Rouge. I mean, what Liberty is a few blocks from campus, so a couple stoplights away.
Yeah.
So I like where they sit for him. I think that staying home is something Frank Wilson's usually sold well on these kids.
Randall said to ask Shea, how much was the NIL deal Arch got from Texas? You and I kind of agreed on it.
I don't know if...
I really don't know that was an NIL play.
I don't think where he chose was an NIL play. Like, could he have gotten some NIL money in there? Yeah, but as you said, I think that Texas... Like, I remember when his recruitment started, I said, when you kind of felt around, they weren't going to leak anything, but Texas was always a school that was already being mentioned. And
wasn't Clemson early?
Yeah, Clemson. But very much, we knew he wouldn't go to LSU. And Ole Miss and Tennessee never got put into any sort of real conversation. So it was clear that they were trying to move him out of any sort of the shadow of any sort of spotlight of granddad and his uncles.
Kevin asked Shea, best Louisiana player to take over a game was Ryan Perilou. Who is the best you've seen from Louisiana? It's an interesting thought.
Perilou was up there. Jarvis and Odell were really good. Jarvis was so good in high school. Eric Reed was a great high school player.
Eric Reed was great.
Chase and Marshall were the same year. They were pretty dynamic. Landon Collins was really good. Stingley was great. I know at Dunham, you don't get all the pub that some other kids got, but when he played, like I think he had returned had 8 picks and 7 were for touchdowns at some point in the year.
Ridiculous.
Gosh, you know what? And recently, Butte was amazing his senior year. Mason Smith was great. But I'll give you one, at least in terms of just a dog, Docquill Williams, who ultimately I think then went by Duke Williams and went to Auburn after a couple stints in JUCO. Like he was at Gulf Coast for a while. But boy, he was, River Parishes, didn't back down from anyone. I went to a 7-on-7 once, and him and Landon Collins were both just bloody noses, and it was just D'ing up on each other, neither of them backing down. He did a stint in the NFL, but I don't know where he's at.
And then he went to CFL for a brief time as well. Yeah, Duke Williams, man. He was physically a stud, but never really worked out for him. Ask Shea, when does NIL begin affecting coaching salaries?
Now. It's going to be, recruiting is now, with the changes at the transfer portal and everything else, literally 365. Like, they're hosting official visitors in January, and then signing day, and then in March and April and May and June, and you're getting July off. So the coach, if I have an option of NFL to college, there's a reason the college guys are, starting to make a good bit, starting to make more and more, because NFL, when the season ends, they let everyone go home.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done. You ain't worrying about it. If someone wants to re-sign and go somewhere else, that ain't the agents are dealing with that. Front office dealing with that. I'm going home. I don't have to worry about if so-and-so is getting arrested or didn't go to class, or so, let alone into recruiting. So add in NIL and coaches having to say, I just spent 11 months recruiting this kid away from home, and then on the last night, another school bought him. Like, I'm out type thing.
Yeah. Let's see if we get in one more. Patrick's asking about the running back from St. Martin's in New Orleans.
Who? Say it again?
Running back from St. Martin's in New Orleans.
Oh, he's a freshman. Oh, man, I'm blanking on his name. He'll be a sophomore.
What's St. Martin's?
It's a school in Metairie.
Okay.
That's all I got for you. We can Google it.
That's all. It's all good.
A good 10th grade running back. He was at LSU's camp and did well.
Okay.
He's already picking up offers.
Okay, good for him, man. All right, he's Shea Dixon. We'll have you back again. I'd love to do that at some point. Maybe as we get closer to the season. Shea Dixon. Follow him on Twitter at Shea Dixon. Hopefully some big life news about what's next for you is coming soon. We'll look forward to that. Of course, we wish you the best as always, and we appreciate the time, and you're the best.
St. Martin Saints in Metairie. Sorry to all the Saints out there that
the St. Martin Saints.
Just did that too.
So. I love it. No, you didn't do anything. Look, I didn't even know. I was asking if maybe he meant Brother Martin. I mean, that would have made more sense, wouldn't it?
I knew what he was talking about.
Okay.
I just didn't know the name. But I only knew that because when I Googled the kid's name, I found out that, and I did the what is St. Martin. So
what's his name?
Well, now I got to Google it again.
All right. Shea Dixon, this is After Further Review. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.